started this morning. Everybody's probably busy. I welcome everybody here. Paul is out traveling, and he asked me if I'd go ahead and chair this meeting. It's a short one, so let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have anybody online? Nothing? Okay, I need a motion to approve the minutes from the last regular meeting on March 20th. Or wait, no, held on June 19th. Meeting held on 20th, the work session held on June.
With your permission, Acting Chairman,
yeah.
I'd go ahead and make the motion that we approve the 3 minutes, that we combine them into a single motion. We did have amended minutes. We had minutes from a regular board meeting, and then we had minutes from either a work session or
okay.
And I'd go ahead and I would just note that the additions to the amended minutes include the clause, Manager Welker requested approval to increase the budgeted amount of P-04 park painting from $150,000 to $195,000. Upon motion of Supervisor Smith, seconded by Supervisor Howard, the request was unanimously approved.
Okay.
So that was the amendment.
Right.
So I would move that we approve those three minutes of our meeting: the work session, the regular meeting on the 20th, and then the work session on June 19th.
Okay, and I'll make that unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Mr. Brian Douglas for the radio advertisement campaign.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's requested the board approve a $5,000 radio advertising campaign for AZ211 Community Resource Directory, and funding will be provided from the Graham Greenlee United Way grant.
Is that program Rosa's doing?
Yes.
She's doing.
We're working hand in hand with the United Way and trying to come up with a community resource guide, and so this is what we'd like to do.
Great. Any discussion?
Chairman, Paul David, and I would, of course, it's wonderful to have United Way offer $5,000. The AZ211 is a great program we've had problems in the past in having a one site for everyone to go to be able to look for services, and so in order for that to be effective, rather than trying to continually update a community contact list, the 211 does that. But of course, it requires each of the different social services and government agencies to not only get their information in, but then keep it current. So it's a great idea to public education, but I think that it would be a shotgun approach unless there's also some follow-up from the individual contacts to all of these agencies, in addition to having it on the radio so that people are aware that they can call 211. Then we need to encourage the providers so that they can get it. I know Rosa, that is the crux. Without that, then it's just another telephone number, and without that dated information. So I fully support it. Hope it works. It's going to need individual contacts as well as the advertising campaign. So I move that we approve it if there's no other discussion. To actually accept the grant and establish that radio campaign.
So you made a motion to approve it, and I'll make that unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Josh Halverson from probation. A couple items.
Good morning.
Morning.
The first item is requesting the ability to transfer funds from our adult probation fees fund to the adult state aid enhancement fund. The state aid fund is one that the Arizona Administrative Office of the Court puts funding in from which we fund and pay for salaries for our standard probation officers on adult. The purpose of this is that we have a grant match that comes out of there, so we're just using the fees that we collect locally to cover that match. It's more of an accounting item. Happy to answer any questions.
Any discussion?
No, Chairman, I just, a motion to approve the transfer of the $16,021.05 from adult probation to adult state aid.
I'll make that unanimous.
Thank you. The next item is to request approval to ratify the purchase of 550 drug testing sweat patches and the lab testing that comes along with that. What occurred is a couple of months ago, we were contacted again by AOC and said, hey, you have some surplus in funds that were saved with some vacancy savings here. Could you use it for something operational? And we had learned of a sweat patch system, which is a way that collects undetectable, the unseeable sweat that comes out of your bodies as a way to test for substances. So it's an alternative and kind of an option with the urinalysis testing that we do. So we saw this as an option to stock up and to try this second process out to use as one of the tools in our testing.
Have you ever used one before, the sweat patch?
So I placed one on myself. That was great. Excuse me. We haven't used them yet. It's somewhat newer, but it will detect any substances for a 24-hour period to, I believe it's 2 weeks. So you can keep that on as long as 2 weeks. So anywhere in that window, and it will just detect, has a panel, right? A panel of substances it's looking for. And the great thing is it's very, it really shows itself if it's been tampered with or messed with. And when I did try it on, it was actually for a demonstration. I put it on and then I removed it and tried to put it back, and it completely looked different. It was you could tell it had been adulterated, it had been messed with, and that was the point of it. So the idea is that it's another way to detect and hopefully keep people accountable as well as actually help them in their treatment process.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
I did have a question, Chairman, and that is the differential. This is about $80 for the patch and the test. How does that compare with your analysis? And I'm just concerned that even though this is convenient, that it certainly I don't think we're recovering our costs on or if there's been any kind of discussion of recovering costs for the patches. And so I'm just wondering, is there a cost recovery component, and how does that compare dollar-wise with the regular urinalysis, since we already have, I believe we have an established program there?
Yeah, good question. The cost of each patch is about $11 for the patch itself. The testing of the patch is a little over $30. So it's about that's a regular cost. There are some additional tests if you're looking at fentanyl and some other things that could enhance the cost. What we did here is we actually paid for the actual physical items as well as prepaid for testing, a certain amount of testing for these as well. So it's more of a little over $40 a unit type thing for the whole, for the actual piece as well as the testing. And the idea is that this doesn't replace our urinalysis use at all. It's actually a tool that could be used along with it, and it would be used in with specific individuals in specific situations. One of the things to think about is testing and confirmation with a urinalysis adds up to be about a $14 cost. So if particularly with certain groups like our drug court where we test them at least twice a week, and other groups like that where we test a lot, you can use a sweat patch in certain situations for a week to 10 days and not use those urinalysis tests during that time. So certainly it's not a complete, wash as far as cost, but it's more the idea of we'll be able to use these, go through these for a while, into a couple of years, we imagine, and we'll see how it goes. It's sort of a test with some additional money that was offered by the state. So I don't really see it as, it's not a replacement of urinalysis. I just see it as another option.
Well, thank you. And I was just doing the horseback math, and even at $40 a test, that still should be about $22,000 rather than the $44,000. So there must be some other costs that I wasn't aware of as far as the per, the per test cost, because you did $550 for $44,900, and that's closer to $80 average, close to $80 a test.
You're right. If you would like, I could.
It's a ratification anyway. It's already been purchased, so I'll go ahead and move to approve, Chairman, unless you have other questions, I'll move to approve that we ratify the purchase that's already been made of the sweat patches and the lab test for probation.
No other questions. I'll go ahead and make that unanimous.
Thank you.
Next, we have Steve McGowie, Planning and Zoning. McGowie, excuse me.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, Mr. Manager, and department heads. Lots of them. We're here this morning. I don't have any paperwork on this because Hannah saved me, and I would have failed to get this on the agenda, but she took care of me. We're asking for your approval or your positive recommendation to the State Liquor Board for SECAS to do their annual fundraiser at the Nickel Picnic, their alcohol sales, Battle of the Band. This has been going on since 2004, 2005, and I'm not sure when SECAS got into that role, but they've been doing it for quite some time, and they probably could use the funds. So unless you have an objection, I'd ask that you send a favorable recommendation to the Arizona Liquor Board.
Any discussion?
None, other than, Mr. Chairman, I did see that that they did fill out their paperwork completely. They had a good plan for security with the, off-duty uniformed officers, and so it's as good as any application I've seen in the past, so I move to approve.
Make that unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Next up, Julie.
Good morning. We started budgeting for the fiscal 22-23 year in April of 22. So by June of 23, 16 months later, it's understandable that a few things have changed. So I am requesting approval of the listed unbudgeted capital items, budget transfers and actual transfers, which will help adjust our financial statements so that the budgets and actuals match, which is required by the audit.
Any discussion?
None, Mr. Chairman, and when you're ready for a motion, let me know.
I'm ready.
Okay, I would move that we, this is really a last minute adjustment. Great deal of confidence in our chief financial officer, appreciate her efforts. And I would move that we approve the listed unbudgeted capital items, budget transfers and actual transfers to adjust for changes during the 22-23 fiscal year.
Second that, make it unanimous.
Thank you.
Next, we have a chance for each of us to give a report on what's been going on in our lives. So start with you, Dustin.
Because this is an extra meeting, Mr. Chairman, Acting Chairman, we usually forego this. We probably should have left that off the agenda, but it's up to you if you want to do it, but.
It's only been a week. Let's move on.
Okay.
Paul, do you have anything?
I concur totally.
Okay. Okay. Finally, we need to approve the demands and handwritten warrants.
Chairman, I move that we go ahead and approve the demands and handwritten warrants for so that we can finish up this fiscal year.
Yes, and I second that, and it's unanimous. There's no call to the public, I don't suppose, so we are done. This meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, well done.
Thank you, Paul.